We love you too, and it's great to be in Maine today.
Vice President JD Vance at the Bangor International Airport this afternoon. He addressed federal efforts to combat fraud in Maine. And he also said our state is one of the worst when it comes to the issue.
Our Phil Hirschkorn joins us live now with more on what the vice president had to say today. Hi, Phil.
Hi, Amanda and Brian from a rainy Penobscot County. And as you say, Vice President JD Vance touched down on Air Force Two at the Bangor Airport this afternoon to attend and lead a rally of several hundred supporters. The focus of Vance's 30-minute speech was the fraud task force he leads, investigating federally funded, state-administered programs like MaineCare, our version of Medicaid, which received $3 billion this year in federal funds.
Fraud isn't just about saving money. It's not just about protecting taxpayers. It's about protecting you. The money is sent to the government and the services that you rely on. You've got an administration in Washington, D.C. that is fighting for you, fighting to protect your tax dollars, and fighting to put the fraudsters in prison.
So far, the Trump-Vance administration points to $1.7 million in alleged overbilling by one non-governmental organization owned by Somali immigrants, and a potential $45 million in overbilling for autism services.
And oh, by the way, what happened to the autistic children and their families who actually need those services and need a competent government to ensure that they're doing the right thing? My friends, this has gone on for far too long. You have been fleeced by your own government for far too long, and we are stopping it every single day.
Vance bundled Maine with California and Minnesota, much larger states with multiples more in proven fraud.
But let me be honest, maybe Maine is the bronze medalist.
I asked the vice president how he could say that with such few examples here.
When you see certain types of fraud and certain types of programs, that's the tip of the iceberg.
Vice President Vance said he hoped for greater cooperation with the state on these fraud probes. In a written statement, Governor Janet Mills told us she's always cracked down on fraud and that holds Medicaid service providers to the highest standards of care and accountability. Now, anytime a president or vice president visits our state, any state, there are protesters, and today was no different. Our Ryan Bell has that part of the story. Ryan?
Thanks, Phil. Yeah, we got over here a little bit later than you did late this morning at around 11:30, and there was a group of probably half a dozen protesters to my right across the street. But the pushback against Vance's arrival started even earlier this morning with Democratic politicians holding a press conference to speak out against his remarks here today.
I believe Mainers deserve to know where every tax dollar is being spent, and that isn't partisan, that's just good government. And I've been saying it long before JD Vance booked a flight to Bangor.
Democratic State Senator and U.S. House candidate Joe Baldacci holding a press conference Thursday morning alongside gubernatorial candidate Troy Jackson.
For him to come here today and talk about anything is a joke. I mean, if he wants to take on fraud, he should look in the mirror every day and start there.
Across the street from the airport, more Democratic politicians gathering with protesters.
We should be auditing every program where there is taxpayer funding. What we shouldn't be doing is allowing this president and his lackey, JD Vance, to cut off healthcare education.
To sort of portray this as a widespread systemic problem really just affords them the excuse to shut that funding off to people who actually need it.
Other protesters focusing on issues like affordability, the war in Iran, and ICE activity in Maine.
They're ruining our country, and I want our country back.
If they uncovered fraud, then yeah, it needs to be addressed. But targeting blue states is a problem.
But supporters of the administration showing out in numbers too.
It was great to have them out here, talking about the fraud and abuse in our state government as well as the federal government.
How we really need to partner with federal agencies, federal law enforcement, with people like JD Vance to be able to use those resources to uncover this massive amounts of frauds, get those dollars back into the pockets of Mainers.
So shortly after his remarks, Vance took off on Air Force Two just to our left, and everything remained peaceful between the people attending the event coming out and the protesters across the street. Most of them had cleared out by the time everything wrapped up. Live in Bangor, Ryan Bell, News Center, Maine.